ladies and gentlemen. Hello, everybody. This is the tiny house video tour. It makes everything come together way better than the pictures. So, as you can see, got our front door, very big. It is a standard door for a house. It's got a fancy lock on it. If we take a look from the outside, I put one that's got one of those fancy number combinations, and the overall the door is actually quite nice. So, coming in from the door, if you were to walk in, this is what you'd see. Right about where the electrical piece is, right here, is going to be a kitchen countertop. It actually extends from where a wall is going to be about here, and it's going to go all the way over and meet up with this big beam, which is part of the loft. Now, beyond that, this little alcove here is actually going to be a very tall cupboard space, partially for pantry things, and also maybe for some clothes. I'm not quite sure yet. Okay, continuing along, this is actually the living room portion of the tour. As you can see, very big space. A very large window. Made sure to have a nice large window so I could actually have plants in my tiny house. Something that not a lot of tiny houses have, nice big windows. Continuing along, as you can see, our living room is actually quite big. The overall height, actually, on this very top beam to the floor actually pushes about 6'6". So even really big guys that want to come in and take a look certainly can and live very comfortably. All right, so moving on, another little alcove here. These little alcoves are actually where the wheel well sits. So the very top of this plate is basically where the wheel well rests underneath. So from that plate, there's going to be another closet here, and that closet for sure is going to go all the way up to the top and basically be your clothes closet. Now, coming around the other side where the door is and the other window, this is actually where the first floor bathroom will be, and the only bathroom in the house. The toilet will be on this right hand side where the ladder currently sits, and it'll actually take up about that much space, not too much more. The left side is then where I'm going to add a shower, and as you can see up here, the loft isn't there, and it actually is quite a little bit higher. So the plan actually is to take this space here and bump it up a good 6 inches so that the shower has something to drain into, and I'm going to have a little catchment pad underneath that I can drain whenever I need to. And that will actually be opposite. You see our kitchen counter was going to be right here. There'll be a wall that comes in right about there, and that'll be where the bathroom sits. And of course we'll have to make a wall along this edge here next to the door, and we'll run it on the floor, make a little opening, and then that will be our bathroom. Now, I'm going to take the ladder and I'll give you the upstairs tour really quick. So, not sure how I'm going to get up here yet. As of right now, we just do it by ladder, but there is plenty of space. As you can see, I have lots of stuff up here. The overall length from way in the back, come on camera, way in the back all the way up to the front is 8 feet. Now, you're thinking, oh yeah, well, 8 feet, what can that fit? Quite a bit of things, you'd be surprised. The 8 foot of the loft actually supports a full king-size bed. And we dropped it down to give ourselves a little more room, and the overall width of this fits a king-size bed pretty good, and there's actually a little bit of extra room on the edges. I don't know how I'm going to fill that in or use that. Continuing on, you can see we have really 2 nice lights up here. They are movable. Those lights swivel around in any direction I want, and they're actually on this fancy switch. So when I flick them on, you can see they're very bright. But if I want, because it is the sleeping space, I can dim them down and not disturb my partner while I am sleeping. But if you're doing something important, work on a laptop, they're really bright. And of course, because it's a dimmer switch, you can have it anywhere in between. So there's the loft, and that's where you'll be sleeping primarily when you're here. Last thing to show you is the storage space. Opposite the loft, opposite any good loft, you have a storage space. Now, the storage space, as of right now, is not too big. It's a little bit shorter than the loft. The peak height, way the heck up here. is pushing about 3 feet 6 inches. So anything that I can store in here, more than likely my golf clubs and any other miscellaneous things that I use, there's more than enough room to store that stuff up in this end of the tiny house. And there's a light here, and there's also another light. You can see there's a port there. Those lights will actually, they also pivot, and they'll look exactly like the ones that are in the loft. They'll pivot and swivel, and they'll be responsible for giving me light up here because I do not have any other lights, because you really don't need them for a storage space. Well, there you have it, ladies and gentlemen, the tiny house tour. The last little thing, we're going to step outside, and I'll give you a quick walk around so you can see the outside. But otherwise, that's pretty much it. There's that nice big window. And that's what I was pointing out earlier. That little box on the inside is for this wheel well. That was tricky to frame out, but we managed to do it. And there's just enough space in there if anything were to bounce or move, that tire is not going to bump into anything or cause us any problems. And then coming from the front side, if you take a real quick look, very tall this house is. We actually had to use 2 rows of scaffolding to get up and get that very last peak bit. The other side over here, this is where a lot of our stuff's going to feed into. So you can see there's an electrical cord going out right now, and that can be plugged in anywhere. Right now it's just plugged into a standard 120 volt outlet, and that runs on a 15 amp circuit, and it actually feeds every single thing in the house. So it really does not take a lot of power to heat and light the entire space. And continuing on, we'll move around, take a look at the back of the house really quick. This is the last little thing I can show you. Right now we're waiting on getting some really nice trailer jacks, so that stays up, but right now wood blocks work just as well. So that's the cheap, affordable option. So taking a look, it's kind of behind a tree here, so I'm going to try and back up. That's where that loft window is, and you'll get a lot of sunlight waking up in the morning, especially if you're raring to go in that loft. One last thing to talk about. From the very bottom of the wheel well, way over here, to the very top of the peak, I had to make sure it was DOT regulation safe. That means the total height of your tiny house cannot be any higher than 13 feet 6 inches. After measuring a couple times, we did come up with a final height of 13 foot 3. So we're pushing the boundaries a little bit on how high it can be, but I think overall on the inside, as you saw earlier, it's certainly paid off. Well, thank you very much. This has been the Tiny House Tour. I am Isaac Pulchinski, your host, and this is my tiny house. Thanks for watching.